When reading off the address, always make sure you validate it. If you get green checks, continue on to the email. If you get red X's, ask the customer to spell out the physical address and check for commas or periods. If you still have red X's, end the call politely. P.O. boxes cannot be accepted. If the customer has a P.O. box, ask them for the physical address. If the customer is unwilling to provide you with the physical address, end the call politely. Always verify the customer's email address. If they do not use email, ask the customer if they have a friend or relative's email that they could be contacted on. If the customer cannot provide you with a valid email address, end the call politely. Ask the customer if they own or rent their home. If they do own their home, ask the customer if it is a single family, multifamily, apartment, duplex, or mobile home. If the customer resides with a family member or in a parent's home, mark them down as other. Ask the customer if their credit rating is excellent, good, fair, or poor. If the customer says they do not have credit, mark the credit down as poor. Ask the customer who they have for insurance. If they do not know who they have, ask the customer if the provider is an independent agent or agency. If it is an independent agent or agency, select Progressive. If it is not an independent agent or agency, end the call politely. If the customer names off a company that is not on the list, select Progressive. Lastly, if the customer does not have insurance, we cannot provide them with this service. Ask the customer when their policy expires. If the customer does not know when the policy expires, ask them to take their best guess as to which season it would be expiring in. If the customer's policy is expired, we are unable to provide them with this service. Ask the customer when they started their policy with the insurance company. If the customer knows the year, but not the month in which they started, select January of the year given. When asking the customer what the year, make, and model of the primary vehicle they drive is, always be as specific as possible. For example, if the customer tells us a 2002 Chevy Silverado 1500, narrow it down. The first thing we would ask is if it is a C1500 or a K1500, and if it is an HD or a basic. Now that we have the model narrowed down, it's time to move on to the submodel. In this case, we would ask the customer if it is an extended cab, a crew cab, or a basic pickup. After we narrow down the body type, it's time to move on to liter size. In this case, we would ask the customer if it is a 4.3, a 4.8, or a 5.3. If the vehicle gets more specific than liter size, pick the first option. In the case of the customer not knowing what the engine type, body type, or submodel is, pick the first available option. Vehicles that we are unable to provide this service for would include RVs, campers, boats, motorcycles, commercial vehicles, or vehicles that are older than 1981. In the case of the customer wanting insurance quotes on one of those types of vehicles, inform them that we cannot provide them with that service. However, when the insurance companies call, they could certainly discuss those options with them and try and take down a vehicle that we do have on our list. Ask the customer if they keep the vehicle in a garage, carport, in the street, or in the driveway. If the customer does keep the vehicle in the driveway, mark it down as no cover. When going over the coverage level with the customer, the first number reflects the amount of bodily injury coverage that the insurance company would be paying out towards one person in an accident. The second number reflects the amount of bodily injury coverage that the insurance company would be paying out towards the entire accident. The deductible would be the amount of money that the customer would pay out in the case of an accident. The most common deductible is $500. If the customer has a request to get quotes for liability, put down state minimum with no coverage for a deductible. Ask the customer if they have a secondary vehicle. Only if the vehicle is on the policy are you going to put down a secondary vehicle. If the customer does not have a secondary vehicle, move on to the date of birth question. Ask the customer to please verify their date of birth with you. If you already have a date of birth down, double check to make sure it's accurate. If the customer is under 18 years of age, we are unable to provide them with this service. Ask the customer what their highest level of education is: high school, some college, or college degree. If the customer has a college degree, ask them if they have their associate's, bachelor's, master's, or doctorate. If the customer has a GED, select high school. Ask the customer what their current occupation is. If the customer's occupation is not on the list, select Other. If you cannot find the occupation within 10 seconds of looking for it, wait until the end of the call and then fill in that information after. Ask the customer if they are currently married or single. If the customer is married, ask for the spelling of the spouse's first and last name and fill out their information as well. If the customer does not wish to share the spouse's information, we cannot provide them with this service. If the customer's spouse is incarcerated, in a different country, or residing in a nursing home, select Separated. Ask the customer if their license is currently active or suspended. If the customer does not have a license, we are unable to provide them with this service. If the customer's license is expired, put down Restricted. If the customer does not have a license, however their spouse does, put the spouse's information up top. By doing this, you can still submit the lead. Ask the customer if they've had any tickets, accidents, DUIs, or claims since 2011. If they have had an incident, narrow the information down further. For example, if the customer says they've had a ticket in 2011, ask which season it happened and what the ticket was for. If they've had an accident or a claim but do not know the amount the insurance had to pay out, leave it as the default $5,000. Only put down information if the person you've been talking to on the phone call has had the ticket, accident, DUI, or claim within the past 3 years. All other drivers on the policy would be discussed with the insurance companies when they call. If the customer has had more than 2 tickets, accidents, DUIs, or claims, inform them that when the insurance companies call, they will discuss the rest of that information with them. Ask the customer on a scale of 1 to 10 if they could rate their level of interest on receiving an auto insurance quote, 1 being low interest, 10 being high interest, what number they would select. If the customer gives a 0, ask them if it's okay if you put down a 1, expressing they have the lowest level of interest in the process. If they say yes, continue on to the wrap-up. If they say no, end the call politely.
Select Progressive.
No current policy.
If the customer
If
does
they
not
have
have a policy
insurance,
through
end the
work
call
and their
politely.
policy does
And
not
if the customer
expire,
names off a
select
company that is
December
not on the
of
list,
2014.
select Progressive.
Ask the customer when their policy expires.
If the customer does not know when they started their policy expires,
Have them take their
ask
best
them
guess.
to take their best guess as to which season it would
When
be
naming off the
expiring
health
in.
history and major health issues with
If
the
the
customer,
policy is
always
expired,
make sure you
we
name
are
everything
unable to
off.
provide
If the
them with
customer
this
says
service.
yes to any of these
Ask the
questions,
customer when
click
the
the box
policy
to the
started.
left.
Ask the customer how many
When
stories
asking about
to their
medication,
home they have.
If the customer does not know the spelling, take down their best guess. If they do not know what the medication is called,
Stucco is a plastic
ask them
composition.
what the medication is
If the
used
customer
for,
has a
and
home
put that
built
down
out
instead.
of something
Ask
other than
the
stucco,
customer
wood
what the
frame, or
frequency
brick,
in which they
select
take their
Other.
medication is.
Basement type
If
is
the customer
referring to
takes
what
more
type
than
of
2
foundation they
medications,
have to their
let
home.
them know that when the insurance
If the
companies
customer
call,
has a
take down the
basement,
rest of the
ask them if it
information
is
for
less or more than 50%
If the customer
finished.
does not know the dosage in which they take,
Ask
put
the
down
customer
20
what year the
mg.
home was built. Lastly,
If the customer
on a
does
scale
not
of
know
1
what year
through
the
10,
home was built,
ask the customer
have them take their
what their
best
level
guess
of
as
interest
to which
is
decade
on
it was
receiving a
built
health
in.
insurance quote.
If they
10
give
being
you a
high
decade,
and 1 being low.
select the middle of the decade. If the customer does not know the square footage to their home, wait until the end of the call and put in their physical address, city, state, and zip into Zillow.com. Ask the customer how many bedrooms and bathrooms they have. Half bathrooms are bathrooms without a shower. Ask the customer what type of garage they have. Once they tell you what type of garage they have, ask them how many spaces are in the garage. When going over home features with the customer, attack dogs are considered to be Doberman Pinschers, Alaskan Malamutes, German Shepherds, Bull Terriers, Pit Bulls, Rottweilers, and Siberian Huskies. If the customer says that they smoke but never in the home, put them down as a smoker. Always make sure all of the home features are asked. Ask the customer if they've had a claim within the past 3 years or since 2011. If they have had a claim, ask them when it happened and the amount of damage in the claim. Ask the customer on a scale of 1 through 10 if they could rate their level of interest on receiving a home insurance quote, what number they would select.